Hi everyone, welcome back to Kiss and Spill with Babe, and today I'm joined by Daniel I'm joined with Daniel Oliver. Thank you so much for coming on. Could you tell us a bit about yourself, Daniel, or anything you'd like people to know? How are you doing? Just general. Who is Daniel Oliver?
Yeah, who is Daniel Oliver?
Who is it?
Brilliant. Yeah, I don't. I think that's part of what my work is trying to find out.
Mm,
Really. Yeah, I make performances and I teach. I make performances that usually have audience participation in, that are like a bit improvised, that are kind of often layered in terms of like reality and fantasy and stuff, and kind of clumsy. And I'm dyspraxic, so they kind of come out of that in their kind of clumsiness and their aesthetic and their kind of ways of interacting and stuff. So I'm a dyspraxic performance artist. I guess that's
nice.
the headline.
um, which side do you prefer? Do you prefer the teaching or the performance making?
They satisfy different things, I think.
You do.
Yeah, I think. I really do enjoy making shows and putting them on, and the kind of there's still like an adrenaline rush to that, and a risk, and a kind of feel like a lot is at stake at that for me. That's exciting. Whereas the teaching is more it's like a gradual kind of build of satisfaction in terms of seeing students really develop. I think for me, I think the like I make shows really quickly and I show them really quickly, and 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 so they're kind of big bangs in a way, whereas the teaching is more a kind of sustained sense of like commitment and engagement and also there's a kind of, in both you have to like switch off certain
Mm.
things, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned you make work really quickly. How quick?
Oh well, I mean now not so much. I mean when I first started, like sometimes, I mean I guess there's a difference between, this is something I really shouldn't talk about when students are going to listen, because I always say, like, you need to spend ages making your work, which
Let's
is true.
pretend they're not going to see it.
But I guess I have a long practice. I've been doing it for a long, long time.
Yeah,
I've got to a place where I can pull things together quite quickly, and
right.
also I'm not afraid of failure particularly. So I guess things will be bubbling in my head for maybe weeks, but actually like figuring out the structure, trying it, doing it in front of people, sometimes that's a couple of days. Not dadders, not these bigger projects I do now, but certainly before back in the day I used to sort of, because I worked to commissions all the time or to gigs, so people are
Right.
like, can you do a thing on Saturday? And I'd be like, all right, and then I have to make something. So
All right. Awesome. Have you been seen any shows since the
I've
theatre?
not been. Have I seen? I don't think I've seen any shows in a room with the show.
Ah,
Have I? No, no,
no.
I
You look.
haven't.
Is there any in particular you're looking forward to see? Just like being in that room, that atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to see anything really. I think.
Nice.
Um, I mean, I really love festivals. I really love running from one thing to the next and seeing people in the bar and that sort of all that kind of that buzz and that feeling of seeing lots of things,
Yeah.
and so I really look forward to being able to do that, because the socialized part of it is so important for me, I think, and for a lot of people. Um, and Yeah, so I think there's nothing, there's not like a specific performance. There's lots of things like I'm really excited to, and people that I'm excited to see make work again. But really, I'm looking forward to being like lost at arts admin, trying to find an installation duration performance, or in Glasgow, like finding the right bar for this particular thing I'm supposed to see. That kind of thing I really miss.
Oh,
I'm looking forward to
nice. So, what was the last performance you saw then? Was it?
that. That's a good question. So I was supposed to go and see Chris Green at the Yard, but it
Mm,
was when everything really kicked off, and I just couldn't quite.
right.
It really felt like, I think that the next day they had to stop the show, and
Yeah.
for me it just felt like, oh, I can't really. You could just feel it kind of,
Right.
So before that, I don't know, what would it have been? That's so hard to say. To be honest, it does. I'm not very good at remembering things, just because I see so much student performance as well, and it all
Right.
so great, and there's so much going on,
So,
so much
yeah.
to see, that I'm not. Yeah. And it just feels so long, to be honest. It feels like, I mean, it's getting on for a couple of years, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
it feels like, anyway.
It does.
Decades. Like, what is, so I don't know. Which is a shame, because I'm sure it was great.
I'm
But
sure it was. I'm actually, in fact, is there a particular place that you like when you're there, you really feel you can really embody your practice a bit better, or you feel like it's your place that brings you some sort of joy in terms of performance making?
I mean, I guess all those spaces at Queen Mary I know so well, and I think the Pinter, went back. I've been coming to for so long, right back in the early 2000s, like 2003. I was studying in Nottingham, but people used to give me a lift down to London to go
Ah,
to the arts festivals that were on in Arts One back then.
right.
So I've known Pinter, and I've seen things in Pinter for well over sort of getting on nearly for 20 years now. And so it's always, I still really like the history of stuff I've seen in there is really in the walls, and that's really exciting. So I think that's a space that I like being in. And then I still always enjoy going back to Nottingham as a city to perform, because that's where I first started making work, and I still have lots of friends there. So I was just there last weekend working with some friends on a gallery based performance that they'd
Oh,
made.
nice.
So there's a real sense of nostalgia and homeliness there, in terms of not really the spaces so much, although they are great, but more the people that I'm working with, and the kind of work and that kind of thing. It's always exciting, to go back to.
Oh, earlier on you mentioned that you are dyspraxia, and I hope I said that correctly. And how much of that informs the work that you make?
I think it does loads. I think so. I think I was making work for a long time before I got my dyspraxic diagnosis, and I always made. I mean, my work in a way has become less clumsy, and kind of cacophonous and kind of ramshackle since then. So it's not like the work suddenly became dyspraxic because I got my diagnosis. It was always kind of like that.
Mm,
But I think that I kind of, the way I understood it shifted maybe slightly. So, and especially, and that comes with age as well. Like when I was younger, I just used to think it was like, it just was kind of punky and kind of,
right. But you didn't know,
and
like there wasn't.
no, I
Yeah.
mean, it felt very much like it came from me, but in much more in terms of the form than the content, really. So I'm
Right.
not really, I don't really, I like to make work about sort of funny, weird things like seances or the woods or time travel or whatever, and then let my identity, I guess, inform the form of the work rather than the content. Although it does, you can't escape it, and that's great.
Yeah.
But I think that I never go about really to go, I'm going to write a piece about dyspraxia,
Mm,
but I'm not in any way. I'm really excited about embracing my dyspraxic like mode of being when I'm
mm.
figuring out how to present it and stuff.
Your book, Awkward, is it Awkward, I believe? Was that a way to
Yeah,
just take the edge off how people respond to it?
yeah, maybe. I guess. I mean, I think I just it didn't feel like anyone was talking much about dyspraxia and
Right.
performance, and I didn't I yeah, I think I had lots of bits of writing that I wanted to pull together that I thought would work well next to each other, and I had met lots of dyspraxic people and
Mm,
neurodivergent people that I knew could write really well. So it was just that, really. I just thought, I don't know about taking the edge off. Really,
yeah.
it probably just adds to the mayhem. But
Mm. So I wanted to talk about Dadders, which it's going to be, um, which was originally meant to be at the Yard, I believe, but because of
yeah,
the
it was at the
pandemic.
Yard. It did happen. It happened at the Yard.
Oh, it did.
The live version.
Oh, it did.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Oh, was it just like you couldn't carry on because of the COVID, or was it just you wanted to put it in a?
No, I think so. What happened was we did all the live shows we were meant to. So it was at
Ah,
it was
Okay.
at Latitude. We did a little thing at Tempting Failure and the Yard and at the Place, and at Cambridge Junction. So it did all its live gigs, but then the idea was we would then have ideally got more gigs in place, but we couldn't even pursue that because of COVID, and there was some money left from Arts Council funding to do that with. So we redirected that to make the telly version.
Oh, nice. What was so you had to film that yourself, did you, the one?
So we originally, no, we had a friend, a really great filmmaker called Susanna Dietz, ended up doing the filming. So
Okay.
it became a collaboration between the three of us, really. So Susanna Dietz doing all the film work, Tom from Queen Mary doing helping out with all the sound and stuff, and then me and Frauke. So so originally we did me being me, I was like, oh, we'll just stick a phone camera in the corner and just get on with it. But I think that would have been really stressful, and I think there's so much of the work because of collaborating with Frauke and her coming from dance and coming from a particular kind of quite hi-fi aesthetic kind of thing. All that stuff that we brought in terms of design would have just been lost if we didn't have a decent filmmaker, and I wasn't really thinking that through. And also, like, we're not. It's quite a lot to deal with to have like the kids around and make it, and then to try and film it ourselves as well. I think it just felt like, oh, well, actually we're better off getting someone who knows what they're doing. So she wasn't allowed in the house because of it was that point in COVID. So it was all filmed through the windows or the doors and stuff.
Oh, wow.
So they were set up. Tom and Susanna were set up outside under our marquee because it was raining, it was storm. Filming in through the windows and stuff.
Oh, wow. Oh, I can't wait to. So it's definitely a different performance than the one to the Yard. So it's something new, something. The performance is similar in terms of what that was live. This one's obviously video for.
Yeah. So the material is the same. So we did, we just took each scene and we just reworked it. So the script is the same, and the structure is pretty much the same, but it's just recited really, which sounds less. It was more. That does have a huge impact on how it works, I think.
So I wanted to talk about Dadders, which is what it's called. And my first one is so much hair. So I was actually speaking to Viv, and she was like, "Yeah, I've seen it." And if I could ask him a question, why so much hair? Is it just a?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a creature in it. I think that must be what Viv's referring to. I mean, I'm a hairy person. That's just what I come with.
Deal with it. It's who I am.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically, part of the there's a kind of fantasy element, which is this kind of untold story of this place called the Meadowdrome, which is a kind of escapist kind of fantasy. It's also a children's story, and it stands in for lots of different things. And in this Meadowdrome, this space, there's this creature which is called a chunk trot, and I think that's what Viv's referring to. So that's a big, very furry orange and white creature that we're inside, a bit like a pantomime horse.
Okay.
But it's got two heads facing either way. So so that came out of like thinking about the Push Me Pull Me character from Dr. Dolittle and the way and thinking about different kinds of relationships and different kinds of collaboration and how you could think of a kind of ideal relationship in which the two people were facing different ways. And there's the kind of cliche, there's the kind of romantic vision where people face each other all the time, and then there's the kind of political kind of like good kind of couple that are facing both forwards and moving together towards their kind of vision or their politics. And then we wanted to kind of see, well, what's that like when the relationship is a good relationship, but they don't have to always be looking at each other. Maybe they don't even know quite what each other look like and stuff. So that's where the creature came from. And then the fact it was just really, really furry was just because we wanted it to be like something like a kid's story, really, like a teddy bear or something.
Oh, nice. And what was it like working with your partner? Because I know.
Yeah, it's really hard. I think it's, I mean, I think that the stuff the show is originally going to be about, which is about how do you manage these different parts of you, like, that you are kind of project managers together with the kids, your parents, you have different kinds of, your bodies are for different kinds of things, you're kind of there's so many different kinds of elements of the relationship, and then throwing into the mixture dyspraxia and ADHD. So the kind of whirlpool of all that, which the show was emerged from conversations about that, was also a reality in the show. It's really, to go from sort of trying to organize the week with the kids and who's going to be where and where they're going to be looked after, and then it wasn't the only thing we were doing. So if I'm teaching, so there's the kind of tensions and the kind of difficulties around that, to leave those behind and go into a studio and try and be really like worky and kind of creative was really tricky. But I think, so it was tough, but it was good. I mean, it was also great. It was also lovely. And we have, we haven't really worked together in that way before, and it's always really exciting to see your part. We've seen each other in creative scenarios, but to really kind of quite intensely see the creative kind of capabilities of your partner up close and to be part of that is also really rewarding and exciting.
Do you prefer working on your own solo performance, or do you like the collaborative process?
I think I like both. I think I feel really lucky that I have a friend, a long-term collaborator, Luke Ferris, that I've worked with a lot over the years, and he has a full-time work as a teacher, so he's often doing other things. But I think in a way I like to collaborate until I feel the itch to like get my own, be able to be kind of stubborn about stuff, and then go and do that and do something on my own until like it feels too lonely and difficult. I feel quite, so I think it really depends on the time, really. I mean, collaboration is really great, but it's also high maintenance, I think. And there's kind of, I think the way I work, which is often quite responsive, it's like someone emails me or calls me and says, can you do this gig? And I often need to be able to just go like, oh yeah, I can, rather than go like, oh hi, can you do the gig? Oh no, I'm at a wedding, blah blah blah, sort of thing. Right. The pragmatics, I find the pragmatics of the collaboration quite tricky sometimes, and also that's a dyspraxic thing. I think like it's hard enough for me to organize myself yet, let alone other people. But I also, I mean, I think that I'm friends with some of the like creative geniuses of the world, so I feel really great that I can sometimes work with them.
No, it's good to have loads of creative people around you, and I think they're just the best people anyway in general. All right, so I thought we could play a quick game. It's called Think Fast, and I just read a sentence, not even a sentence, probably like a couple of it is a sentence, but very short ones.
Great.
And you just have to say whatever comes to mind. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be a perfect answer. But what is the definition of a perfect answer anyway? All right. So are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. What can you buy for £1?
A pint of milk.
How heavy is a duck?
Like less than a swan, more than a duckling.
Name the best place.
Bed.
Okay. Children's or dogs?
Children. I don't know.
I thought you were going to say both then.
No, I mean like, yeah. Other animals, I mean, obviously as a dad, it's complicated.
You've got your children, you have to go.
Yeah, and I can hear them now, like there. It's like if I had a,
if I had a dog, I could just
be like, shut up. I grew up with a lot of dogs. My family always have dogs. My sister has dogs. My parents have dogs. I always lots of dogs. So I have access to dogs. and I'm very happy to walk away from them when I.
Okay, interesting. What's the cool greeting?
What's a cool greeting?
Yeah. Cool way to greet people when you see them.
Hey, I think that's good.
Okay. You thought so long about that. I thought you were going to actually come up. You're like, hey, I love it. Very simple, but the best.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then the last one is tell me a secret.
Oh God. I don't know.
I think time's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a secret. Do you know what? Everybody that I've asked that question, their response has been no. Like,
no, I really want to, but I can't. I'm rubbish at like for someone who claims to be able to make things really quickly and be really spontaneous in the moment in shows.
I didn't mention that. You mentioned that.
Yeah, exactly.
You put yourself.
Yeah. I don't know. I really want to come up with a secret now. I'm loath to make one up.
Yeah, who would know? Like,
yeah.
Secret.
No, I can't. No, I can't think of anything. Sorry.
That's okay. That's fine. Thank you for playing with anyway. Dadders is showing on Air Supply / People and Palace on the 19th of June, I believe, between 7 and 9 p.m. What can people expect from that performance?
It's like people go on about how weird it is, which is nice. I find that affirming. And how funny not funny. It is funny. I think it's funny. And it's quite tender.
Okay.
It's quite tender. It's quite insightful, I think, into us and who we are. I think the thing that's going to be complicated about it, and maybe this is great, it's part of the awkwardness, is that it's like 8 short YouTube films that you usually have agency over, like going, oh, now I want to watch that one. So I'm interested to know how they choose to curate that and program that in a festival.
Okay.
Because there's also there is a sort of secret path away from it, which is that you can choose to go and watch it on Vimeo. That's too rude for YouTube. And so there's I don't know how that will work, but we'll see. I guess people will be at home. Maybe they'll figure out themselves.
Yeah, I know. I noticed you're also speaking to Lois about what's like in creating waking work in a pandemic, as well, which would be interesting for people to also tune in and find out what that process has been like for you. It's on the 19th of June between 7 and 9. You can catch Dadders on Air Supply / People Palace. I'll put all the links below for anyone who wants to come and view. And the tickets are free. It's free to show up, so there's no excuse not to show up. Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time. All right.
Yeah, no worries. See you soon.
Bye.